morning, Diana.
Good morning.
So I hear you want to be a leather worker.
Certainly.
Good. There are a few things that you need to know before you start. Number one is the type of leather that you're going to be using. When we're going to be doing carving or stamping and making designs on leather, we're going to be using one type of leather, and that's called vegetable tanned leather. And vegetable tanned leather is a process that I'm not going to get into now, except to explain that it's vegetable products that are used to actually tan the leather, which means keep it from going bad and rotten. Another method of doing tanning is called chromium tanning. It's much shorter length of time, but there are characteristics that you have for that too. They tend to be a little different in appearance, and they have different purposes. For instance, if you are going to use chrome tanned leathers and you want to make something, you want to make it so that it's going to be durable, it's not going to stretch, it's going to retain its shape, and it hopefully is going to be waterproof. So in this case, that particular piece of leather was used to make a jacket. And these were the leathers that were used to make that jacket. I designed the jacket, but I didn't make the jacket. So sewing is another thing we could get into later. But just to give you an idea, the jacket, you don't want to go out of shape. You don't want it to absorb water when you're out wearing it. So it's chrome tanned leathers that we're going to use for that. And vegetable tanned leathers are exactly the opposite. We want to be able to wet them. We want the water to absorb into it. And that gives it certain properties that are beneficial to us when we're doing leather work. Now, I've wet that quite a bit because I want to make sure that all the fibers of the leather are wet all the way through. It's like a sponge. Before you put any water in it, it's fairly firm. When you put water in it, it gets softer, and if there's lots of water in it, it really squashes down, you can see. So I have a couple of other pieces here that I'm going to use for you to play around with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet one thoroughly. I'm going to wet another one. And I'm not going to wet that one at all. So what we're trying to do is make impressions in the leather, and we want it to stay. I have quite a number of tools that are over here, and stamps that are available through a variety of suppliers, and all over the world. So what you would like to stamp with is your choice. So we can go through and pick out a stamp. And I'm going to let you take and hold the stamp on the leather, and then take a mallet, and I'm going to let you hit the stamp, not me. Hit it again. Now I'm going to lift it up, and you can see that it made an impression. Now this time I'm going to put it beside it, and I want you to hit it a little bit harder. And I'm going to rock it back and forth a little bit because it's a large stamp. Keep hitting it. And I'm just going to rock it back and forth. And you can see that it stands out quite well. I'm going to take this one over here, which isn't wet, and I want you to do the same thing. Hit it again. I'm just moving it around so that I get even pressure on it, so that we're not cheating. That's good. And I'm going to take the one that's over here, that's really wet, and I'm going to have you do the same thing. Keep going. That's good. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at them. And Eugene is going to get in closer later and show you the difference. But if you take a look at the three of those, you can see that where it was dry, there's barely an impression, and you can't see it very well. Where it's really wet, you can see the impression, but it's not dark. It's the same color as the leather. It's pushed basically down into the leather, but if I were to take a modeling tool, and when it's really wet, rub on it, I can actually make that come back out again. This one is about the right degree of wetness. You can see that it's going dark. That's compressing the leather and allowing the oils in the leather to come to the surface and make it darker. It's called burnishing. And now you're a leather worker. That's all there is to making stamping on leather.